Today, we are talking about all things standing out from your competition without discounting, because always the way we think we need to stand out is through discounting. I'm sure you've thought about it. Let me know in the chat if you have. Maybe you've tried discounting, maybe you found kind of mixed results from that. But today we're going to talk about an alternative to that. So if we've never met before, I'm your host here of these events, but I am also the CEO of Evolve Your Wedding Business, where I work with wedding professionals of all different kinds to help them build businesses that give them freedom and flexibility, but also help them be able to book the wedding, that they really want to be booking. You might know me from my podcast, the Evolve Your Wedding Business podcast. Mark has been a guest there. He's also been a speaker at my summits, both Book More Wedding Summit and Wedding Business CEO Summit. So I want to address where we start with this. We believe that if we want to book clients, we need to get ourselves out there in absolutely any way that we can. Because very logically, we think that if more people know about us, more people will hire us, right? Well, I want you to think about your business like a magnet. And the thing with magnets is they attract and they repel, and they also only attract and repel magnetic things. So if you point your magnet at your keys, they're going to be attracted. If you point it at a rubber duck, nothing happens. And this is really crucial because trying to, get your name out there to be known by just everybody as simply existing is like going around and just pointing your magnet at everything. And it becomes a really huge waste of your time and your money. It also becomes very overwhelming. So we need to talk about, if we're not going to point this magnet at everyone and everything, who are we going to point it to? And I really want to point out that trying to appeal to everyone will kill your business. I can promise you that. There is no business, there is no product, there is no service on the planet that is truly for everyone. Even Apple has its haters that will never buy from it. So I want you to think about being the go-to person for your ideal clients, because it can be a really magical thing and really help you stand out. So let's do a little thought experiment here. God forbid you are going about your business and you start to feel some tightness in your chest. You have a heart attack. You go to the hospital, you get treatment, but then you have some decisions to make after that. Do you then go to your general practitioner, your family medicine doctor, the person you go to when you have the flu or an ear infection? Or do you go to a cardiologist? Perhaps even more specifically, if you find out that the reason why you have this heart issue is maybe due to some very specific genetic issue, there's probably a cardiologist or a few cardiologists that specialize in that. And you have to decide, who is it that you want to see? Do you want to see the general medical practitioner, or do you want to see the specialist? Well, I know I would want to see the specialist. I'm sure a lot of you would too. The interesting thing too is they get paid more, even though they serve a more specific group of people, a narrower set of people. They make a lot more money. And I know what you might be thinking about specialization. Won't getting more specific about my ideal client result in attracting fewer people? And I 100% understand when people think this because it is the logical conclusion to this. But this is about psychology. This is anything but logical. When you become the go-to client, sorry, the go-to person for your ideal client, you have this lighthouse effect. You can be seen from a distance, and people know that you're there. People know who specifically you're for, and people will travel to you from a distance because you're able to be found more easily. This is really important for all of us because I'm sure, as many of you have felt, the market is more saturated than ever, and standing out from your competition is crucial. We all need the ability to be that lighthouse for someone. So this is Liz Grimes. She is a wedding officiant that I've had the pleasure of working with. She works with non-religious couples who wanted a very personal, unique ceremony. She, unlike many people in the area she was serving, was very supportive of the LGBTQ plus community. So that is part of what made her stand out. But her ideal clients really, at the end of the day, wanted their love story told in their ceremony, their individual, unique love story. They didn't want just like a ceremony you could pull out of a book. And what Liz did was she was able to raise her prices multiple times to where she was the absolute highest in her market, and she was still booked out. The reason for this is she had no real competition. What she did by making herself the go-to person for her ideal clients is she put herself in a category of one. Now I get that might be a little scary. So I want you to think about this really interesting thing I've seen happen with my clients who go through this process of figuring out, okay, how do I clone my best clients? And their business becomes a little bit like a dartboard. So you have that absolute perfect fit, bullseye ideal client. For another officiant I worked with rather. She is a bilingual officiant. She works with couples who are usually first generation, um, Hispanic, and she's Cuban herself. This is her exact situation, who are not religious, but they're spiritual, but their family is very religious, and they have to balance that and figure out, okay, how are we going to do this wedding in a way that everyone feels included, but is still the wedding that we want to have? Super interesting thing starts to happen for her. She starts getting those bullseyes, but she starts getting the rings outside of the bullseye as well. She actually started to attract several clients who were not first generation from a Spanish speaking American country. She was attracting in her outer rings first generation people who were from very devout Muslim families. And they themselves were kind of culturally Muslim and much more on the spiritual end of things, but it was the same problem that her ideal clients were having. How do I have this ceremony where I get to include everybody and includes maybe some of the traditions that I like, but it's not a full-on religious ceremony that I don't want? The really cool thing about this is her making her bullseye known is what allowed her to bring in those outer rings. They would have never found her if not for making herself known as that, like I said, lighthouse that was the go-to for people. Now, if you're thinking, Heidi, I got this. I know who my ideal client is. They're a fun couple between 20 and 35 who want a stress-free wedding and they want to pay my prices. You are like most people, but this is not specific enough because it doesn't help you. It doesn't do anything for you. Is this ideal client a Walmart shopper or are they a Whole Foods shopper? Are they very traditional in what they want to do with their wedding, or are they everything offbeat bride? And you might be wondering, well, why does that matter? It matters because our values directly impact our consumer behavior. Bride or groom is not an identity. Your ideal client is a whole person, and the values of that whole person are what actually impact their buying decisions. Now, most wedding professionals I meet, like I said, are far too vague. And as a result of this, they don't stand out as the go-to person for anyone. They just kind of blend in. So if you're doing this, you're not alone. And the reason why this happens is because most people are going off assumptions. And today you're going to learn how to not do that. So right now, I want you to think about, who are the clients that you wish you could clone and work with over and over and over again. And I want to give you a minute here because I know some names are probably bubbling to the surface, and I want you to write them down. Go ahead, write on a piece of paper, put it in your notes app on your phone. I want you to just take note of these people's names that are immediately coming to mind. And let me know in the chat when you've done that. These are the people you wish you could clone and work with every day of your life. You'd be the happiest person in the world. Ruth's got it. Awesome. I'll give you another minute here. Mark, done. It was easy, actually. Yeah, that's the thing, is we all have those people that pop up immediately and like, them. I want more of them. All right, keep writing them if they keep coming to you. This is going to be important. I want you to think now, how would you describe them to a friend? Now, you wouldn't describe them as between 25 and 40 and willing to pay your prices. That would be super weird. How would you actually describe them to a friend? Let's say you, I, and this person are meeting up for drinks, and you and I get there first, and you're telling me, oh, you're going to love this person. This person is fill in the blank. What are they like? Tell me what their personality is like. Tell me what they're into. Maybe they're a huge baseball fan. Maybe they're super outdoorsy. But we need to shift from looking at them as a demographic to looking at them as people. So it's really important we can describe them to another person. All right, and when you have that, I want you to look at what they have in common. So you have your list of people, the clients you wish you could clone and work with over and over again. Here's how you would describe them. What do they have in common? If you were inviting them all to a party, how would you introduce them to one another? Because a lot of times we introduce people based on things we know they have in common. Oh, you're going to love so-and-so. She is also super into that show that you've been watching. Or she's a huge sci-fi nerd too. What are the things that they have in common? They may all be very similar. They may be more of like a Venn diagram collection of people, but they do have things in common. Whether it's facets of their personality, their interests, the way they view the world. You could put them in a room and they would get along. For us, their hobbies, their passions outside of work, their disposition, their forward, future thinking, happy, resilient. Love that. So you've identified your target. These are the couples that you really wish you could just work with every day. They are the most important people for you to think about in your marketing. And now you get to pull in Elle Woods. And if you're not familiar with Legally Blonde, please watch it. It is an excellent and fun movie. But Elle goes after getting into Harvard because her boyfriend thinks she's dumb and that she can't do it. So she decides she is going to become the person that Warren really wants. You can tell I've watched this movie many times. I know all the characters' names. But she doesn't just sit back and say, like, oh, well, he's a jerk. She goes, I can prove him wrong. I can become the Harvard girl that he is really looking for. This is what you're going to do. Now, it's toxic in a personal relationship sense, but in a business sense, this is a really helpful way to think about it. You need to show your Warren, your ideal clients, exactly who you are as the person that they are looking for. Now, Elle is not lying at any point. She is an incredibly intelligent human being that's capable of a lot of different things, as we see in the movie. She wouldn't be at Harvard if she couldn't. She wouldn't have gotten that LSAT score if she couldn't. She just wasn't showing that side of herself. So I want you to think about, what is that like Elle Woods transformation that you need to show your ideal clients to become the absolute perfect match for them. So here's what you need to know. You need to know how you already stand out currently, what your ideal client really cares about. And I say really here because a lot of times we base this off of assumptions, and that can get us into trouble. That can get us into areas of being very vague about what we're talking about in our marketing. And then once you know these things, you'll be able to show them, just like Elle, that you are the perfect fit for them and why they should work with you. Now, that's what you do in your messaging. Messaging is the marketing business jargon for the way that a business talks to their ideal clients about what they do, the value they provide, how they're different, the problem that they solve, who they are. And let me show you an example from a planner that I worked with. This is a planner that very obviously, from the image, and then as you start to read, serves a particular kind of client. But when we first started working together, this planner's website, while they did have photos of Indian couples that they had served, they were talking about what they had to offer in the terms of what everybody else says. And every segment of our market has these things. For planners, it really tends to revolve around, I can save you time, I can save you stress, I can make things easier for you in the planning process. And while all of those things are true, they don't help you stand out. So we can see in her copy here exactly who she is talking about. And I apologize if you can hear the gigantic helicopter that is outside. So what she says here, as a full service wedding planning and design firm based in Florida and available for worldwide travel, we work with couples to create statement and multicultural weddings infused with your unique ideas. This came directly out of her looking at, who are those people I wish I could clone and work with over and over and over again. And she found that most of them were Indian couples, or one person in the couple was Indian. And when she talked to them about, what did you actually care about, she learned this down here. Nobody wants to walk into a wedding they've already seen a million times before. They want to experience your story, your quirks, and your style in every single detail. That's why we believe in creating wedding events that start with a blank canvas and build them into extraordinary celebrations that put even the most popular Pinterest boards to shame. She was not booking near as many clients as she should have been when we started working together. She was doing these things. She was helping people create very unique and personalized events, but she wasn't making her messaging and her marketing about that. Her messaging and her marketing was, I can help save you time. I can help make it less stressful. The same thing that I can copy and paste onto every single wedding planner's website in our industry. And that was the problem, is she wasn't clearly standing out. But once she understood what it was that her ideal clients really wanted from her, which was, I don't want my wedding to look and feel like my sisters and my brothers and my cousins and my friends and my sorority sisters. I want it to be completely different and have, yes, some of the Indian traditions, but also so much of our personality. Once she switched to marketing that, she started to book up like crazy. And it's no coincidence. This is what happens when we focus our marketing on the things that our ideal clients really, really want. Because when you don't have marketing that lines up with the problem that your ideal client wants you to solve, they will not buy from you. In this case, what the ideal client wanted was knowing that this planner could take the traditions and create something different, that they weren't going to feel like they had been to this wedding a million different times. They didn't actually care about the things she was marketing about with, having less stress and saving time. Once she aligned her marketing with the problem that they actually wanted her to solve, she started booking those people like crazy because it was that lighthouse effect. They saw her from a million miles away and they wanted to work with her and only her. So, why does messaging matter? Well, your messaging is what feeds your marketing. It's what tells you what to talk about in your marketing. And it shows your ideal client that you are the right person for them. Most importantly, it sets you apart from your competition. But the right messaging is the most important piece. It's not just any messaging. If your messaging does not align with the problem your ideal client wants you to solve, they won't buy from you. This is why understanding that problem, understanding what they want from your ideal client comes first. And my favorite part of this is you don't have to guess. They will tell you exactly what they want from you. So reminder here, this is what you need to know: how you're already standing out, or perhaps how you're already not standing out, basically how you're being perceived, and what your ideal client really cares about. Because once you know that, you will be able to show them that you are a perfect fit and why they should work with you. So let's get into action here. You can start by mining the data that you already have. You can look back through reviews and testimonials, inquiries, client communication, any surveys you do during your process. How are they talking about what they want and what their problem is, what they are most concerned about? But my favorite way to do this is to tap directly into the source, to reach out and ask your favorite clients, those people you just identified, and ask them some questions. Because when you guess, you will be wrong. You will be at least somewhat wrong. It's actually really, really easy to do this, and I'm going to give you the step-by-step on it. I wrote a best-selling book called Clone Your Best Clients about this exact process. And this is a process that I lead all of my clients through. because it is so foundational. It is so important. We cannot make decisions about what should be on your website, where should you be marketing, what should you be doing in your marketing, unless we understand who they are and what they care about. So I'm going to give you this guide, and I'll come back to this link at the end here, but let me drop the link in the chat here. This is the Clone Your Best Clients interview guide. And what this does is it walks you through the whole process of identifying the people, which you've already done, asking them, hey, can I ask you some questions, in a way that makes them most likely to say yes, and then what questions to ask and what to do with that information. We're going to talk a little bit more about that, because this is absolute gold. This is marketing gold. They will tell you exactly how to find more people like them, where to find more people like them, what to talk about in order to attract more people just like them. And how often do we actually get to have that kind of certainty in our businesses? There are so many unknowns. Let's just let someone tell us what we're supposed to do here. And your ideal clients will do that. When you know your target and you know what they want, you need to make sure that they can tell you are the perfect fit for them. And you've got about 5 seconds to do that on your website. And that is even stretching it a little bit. It needs to be quick, instantaneous. Your website needs to be so insanely clear that like a 5-year-old can land on your website and know who you're all about. Is it immediately clear upon landing on your website what you do and who you do it for? Is it clear who you are not the best fit for? You need to answer this in 5 seconds or less. And I'm going to show you some examples, and we'll have some time. I can look at yours as well. But you're going to get this information of like, what is the wording I need to use from the mouth of your ideal clients. This is my client, like I said, the bilingual officiant, Rev Mercy ceremonies, weddings, baby blessings, life celebrations, and more, creating and officiating custom ceremonies that honor your sense of spirituality while still respecting your family's traditions. Those were the things that really mattered to them. We have a photographer here, Christy. Let me hop over to this other screen. Seattle wedding photographer for couples who want bright, colorful photos that feel natural. And then she talks more here about capturing the joyful, romantic, and important moments of your big day in a way that beautifully reflects who you are as a couple. She has heard these things from her ideal clients. Another photographer here, Liz Courtney Photography. This is different. This is definitely different. Your wedding day is a story worth telling on paper. Wedding photography for the timeless traditional bride. We know who it's for. We know who it's not for. This is a destination planner I worked with. We aren't your average wedding planner. We plan untraditional and out-of-the-box weddings. Challenge tradition, embrace your uniqueness, have zero regrets. You know immediately, and without having to scroll, who this is for and who this is not for. This is a dress designer that I've worked with. You can tell immediately by the image who this is for and who this is not for. Gowns optimized for dyeing, guaranteed vivid color on styles you'll love. This is a planner that I work with. She's based in Italy. We have right here a very distinct image, and then Magical Vows, which is the name of the company, wedding planners and emotion designers for unconventional weddings. This is my website. Build a 6+ figure wedding business without working all the damn time. And then we have information about whether you're a planner, photographer, venue, DJ, but you know instantly who is this for? Who is this not for? If you're an accountant, this is not for you. What you want to do is create either a hell yes reaction or a hell no reaction in 5 seconds or less. Why is that? Copy and marketing that follows this strategy makes you a hell yes for your ideal clients in a sea of, well, I guess this could work kinds of options. What you do is you create your own category. You are the, oh my God, yes, this is who I want to work with. And if I have to, this is who I could work with. You are no longer just another planner, venue, officiant, photographer. This actually squashes so many price objections because you are no longer selling what everybody else is. You are inherently selling something different. And people will pay more to work with you because you're giving them exactly what they want. You're the only person or one of very few people who is giving them exactly what they want. So you have to reflect on your ideal client. What do they care about most? Not what do you think they care about most. Actually talking to them and finding this out with the interview guide. And you want to ask yourself too, what do you want to be known for? Because maybe there's something that they care about that you don't particularly want to be known for. That's okay. You don't have to be known for that. But what you want to do on your website and throughout your messaging is create what I call your perfect fit statement. It was those statements I was showing you on the website. Here's a few examples of how you can structure that. There's a lot of different ways you can do it, but here's a few to serve as a jumping off point for you. What you do for couples who want what they want. What you do for couples who and who they are. Like we saw, like unconventional couples. Thing they want without thing they don't want. Spiritual ceremonies without all the religious stuff. So if you want to take a screenshot of this, do it now, because this statement, once you nail it down, and you should absolutely talk to your ideal clients first, which, like I said, you have the guide for, but this statement can be used on your website when you first land on it. It can be used in your social media bios. It can be used everywhere to describe exactly who you are and what you do. This needs to be front and center. This statement goes front and center above the fold on your website. If you're not familiar with the term above the fold, it's an old newspaper term. When you pick it up off the newsstand, it's what you see without having to unfold it and open the paper. It's just before the scroll. This also goes into your social media bios, and you will filter all of your marketing through this statement. Is doing X thing a good fit for these couples that I want to serve that want this thing? Am I talking about that? Am I off topic? This becomes your compass. So your next steps here are to download that Clone Your Best Clients guide so you can improve your messaging. And we've got a good amount of time here to dig into any questions you have about this. We can talk about those statements. We can talk about how to get those clients to agree. Whatever questions you have, I want to answer them for you. But let me tell you this. With the hundreds and hundreds of wedding businesses that I have worked with over the last 12 years, I see a massive, absolutely gargantuan tipping point from them actually going and doing this and finding out what their people actually care about to them starting to be able to book up easily at a higher price and without having to discount and worry about the competition because they have put themselves in a category of their own. And that, my friend, is how you really stand out from your competition. You don't play the pricing game. You don't play the we're slightly different game. You play the this is from the horse's mouth. This is from my perfect people and what we're all about. Let me head over to the chat here. Oh, Ruth, thank you. It's so nice to hear that. Have you worked with many small bridal boutiques? I have. Yeah, I've worked with a wide range of different boutiques, of seamstresses, of dress designers. Yeah.
Heidi, one of the things that comes to mind for me is a phrase, the riches are in the niches. And
Mm-hmm.
it's
And it doesn't
probably
mean
like
you can't,
overused.
work with other people. It's just this is your bullseye, and
Yeah.
then you have your rings.
Yeah. And I met someone last year at a conference. Her name's Jen, and she's a wedding photographer, and her business is Weirdo Weddings. And she had been a wedding photographer for ages, and she self-described herself as a weirdo, like not me saying that, but she's like she's got pink hair, she's got
I know
crazy
exactly who
glasses.
you're talking about
Yeah.
because she's made herself stand out.
Yes. And what she has done is she's really sort of just embraced who she is and not tried to be something else to make a bunch of money. And what has happened for her business is that she's getting speaking engagements in the industry. She's busier than ever shooting weddings with couples that she actually likes and feels like she relates to. And they're couples that don't look like Instagram, right? They're just like all these beautiful, wonderful people that are super creative and different, and she's really leaned into exactly what you're saying of just sort of I guess the word I want to say is like acceptance of like, hey, this is me and this is what I love, and I'm really tired of like trying to be everything to everyone, and I'm gonna like be weirdo weddings. And I love that she did that.
Yeah, and people are naturally attracted to her. Like you see that and you see all of your other photography options and you're like, well, obviously, I'm gonna pay the extra, whatever, quite frankly, to be able to work with her because she's the perfect fit. And then we have like I guess it could work.
Yeah. And I know it's probably actually maybe this is a question for you. Do you think it's easier for like wedding pros, like photographers, DJs, planners to get to this point and do this versus like a venue or a bridal store who really kind of fundamentally does have to appeal to a larger range of people to stay in business?
I think it can be at first blush, and it's really easy to think that, but your people are still choosing you for a specific reason
Yeah.
and really leaning into what that reason is, whether it's for a bridal boutique, maybe it's the particular experience in there, maybe it's the particular service, maybe it's the range, maybe it's the inclusivity, maybe it's just how you made them feel. It doesn't have to be this like hard brass tacks, like, no, they do this, we do this. Um, but I think it can be deceptive to think like, oh, it's for a business that can do a smaller volume. Because if you are known as the venue for particular types of outdoor events or,
Yeah.
anything that you want to be known for, that jumps you up to the top of the list for your ideal client. I think we don't have to get like, I think sometimes when we think about niching, it's like it's only this kind of person, but what we're really going for, and the reason why we talk to people is you want to understand why somebody made that purchase, why somebody decided to use your venue, or why somebody decided to buy from your bridal boutique. And that's just an unknowable thing to us unless we go through the process of asking them. They are literally the only people that know that information. And there is a gold mine locked in their brains that you can tap into because they already like you.
Yeah, I love that. And one thing that's so true about Gen Z and younger millennials is they are buying from people, not big companies. They are buying for experience, and they are buying from people at the top of the company who they relate to and who they like, who relates to their values. And so even as a venue or a bridal store who may not be able to like lean into that individual personality, there still is an individual at the head of that business with a personality that people want to know who that is. People really do have an obsession with like the business owner, right? Like consumers love saying, oh, I met the owner of the store, or I met the owner of the venue and I really like them, and they're obsessed with the owner. And so even if you're a bigger business, leaning into what Heidi is sharing here of identifying what makes you unique and different is super important. Like, don't try to be everything for everyone, even if you're a larger scale business.
And don't make assumptions, because I think that's the biggest thing that we do is we're like, okay, I am for this kind of person. And you might be like almost there, like that planner I showed. She was already working with, Indian couples who wanted this specific type of thing, but she wasn't making her marketing about that. So people couldn't see it until they got to talking to her, which a lot of people had bounced off by that point. A lot of people, went to work with someone else because they didn't immediately see, like I was talking about in the perfect fit statement, that, oh my God, yes, you were the perfect fit for me. And they lost out on that opportunity purely because she wasn't clear enough on what they actually cared about, which even in my own business, when I think I know, I always go and validate, and I'm always at least kind of wrong, in some ways about what is the motivation, why did you decide to buy from me instead of someone else? And people tell me things, and I'm like, huh, okay.
Yep,
I
you're
obviously
too
need to
close to
call
it.
more attention to that.
Yeah. You're like, as a business owner, you're always too close to your own business and your own products and services to really, really see it. There's no way to see it clearly from that marketing perspective that your survey ideas and your research ideas and looking at testimonials gives you that answer.
Yeah. And people will straight up tell you, like, I think one of my favorite questions in this interview guide is, why did you choose to work with me, us, however you want to phrase it, instead of someone else? Because they are going to tell you what stood out to them. They're going to tell you what made them make that decision.
Yep.
And then all you have to do is lean into it.
Hmm. That's so true. One thing that comes to mind too is about what you shared is like, you don't have to change the strategy of your business and do anything different. Like this is literally not changing your business. It's not creating like something overwhelming. It's literally just doing what you're already doing, but
Yeah.
identifying what you're already doing and packaging it in the right way.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing is, like, we're all doing these things. It's just we're the only ones that are like even aware that we're doing them, and we're not calling them out as the reason why we're different. And
Yep.
I am telling you, every single time I see someone really make this shift, everything changes in their business because people start to notice, they start to see, like, that's exactly what I was looking for. And then that, when you have that moment, we've had that, I'm sure, with all sorts of different products and services, you stop looking. You don't look at anybody else. You have found, like the one, you found the thing that you were looking for. And even if you do look at others, it's not the same. It's an apples to oranges comparison at that point, which makes it a lot easier to charge more and still book the weddings and stand out and not have to, slash your prices.
Yeah, I
Hi,
love
Heidi.
that.
I'm sorry, Mark. Did you have more?
Nope, go for it.
Oh, well, Heidi, I've been working on and off with you for years, but every time I think about your client interview guide, I tweak it for myself as an officiant. But lately, the last few years, I have not been able to put a lot of time and effort into my website and advertising because of family situation. But now I'm getting back. However, I've gotten a lot of referrals just through Googling, my local people for Googling. And I ask them all the time, well, have you checked with other officiants? No. Well, why did you choose me? we read your website, which is not to the ideal client. It's vague, but in my head, it's not vague, but anyway, that it's going to be tweaked. But they say your personality comes through, and we like that. And I am not a high marketed person. I like the people next door. I like people like me, comfortable, friendly, like to laugh. You know, many of them have no idea what goes into a ceremony, especially the younger ones that have not really gone to any that were not already like in a religious setting. So they don't really know what goes into it. And then I get to shine and show them my brainstorming and let's do this. And what do you think about that? And who likes this or whatever. And that's what I really like about them. My concern now is, oh yeah, I'll give you a review. It'll be great. And then I just can't get that review in. So I'm trying to work on the reviews. So maybe we can target that one day. But you know, if people realize that, and it's 6 years now for me, that I need to definitely find my ideal client. I mean, I'm older, and I don't work full time. This is part time. I just love doing this, but I like to tweak everything that I find online and with you and whatever to fit me personally. And a lot of people listening today are going to, I just want you guys to know you've got to tweak it for you and your personality. You know, the questions are a guideline. It's a guide. So treat it as a guide and work it out for you. My papers are a mess. I have to reload it because I'm constantly writing all over it and changing things. But you know, your ideal client is really, really valuable so that you can talk to them. And like I said, my website shows my personality, but my ideal client is very vague. So if you can just get the words in there, get the content, get the SEO going, and people will come to you. And I
Ruth,
just,
something I got from what you're saying real quick, if I could interject, is actually when you're looking for your ideal client too, you are looking to make your own work life better, right? So
yeah,
so half of this is like, let's find our ideal client because we want to have steady stream of clients and income. But at the end of the day too, like anyone who's been in business for 5 years or more realizes that like when you work with the wrong client, your life just is less fun. And
it
so
is
I kind of
exactly,
hear
Mark.
that from you is like you want to find the right client because you want to have a better work life experience.
And Ruth,
Exactly. And when
I think you bring up a very good point here, and this really illustrates. I think sometimes we think ideal clients have to be like these neat boxes of, you know, this perfectly like fleshed out person. For you, the motivation, it sounds like that's driving your people, and you would want to get their exact words on this, but what's driving them is perhaps an intimidation around what even is a ceremony. I just want it to be fun. I just want it to be light. So making yourself the officiant for people who just want it to be fun, just want it to be light. You know, this isn't going to be, you know, it's not going to feel like homework. It's going to be an enjoyable process. That can be enough. And I think sometimes we think we have to like change everything in our business to the image, but you're already attracting those people. And sometimes it's just shifting the language around how you talk about yourself. So I'm really glad that you brought that up.
Yeah,
yeah, thank you, Heidi.
awesome.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions about this? Because I want to make sure that you feel good going forward, taking this guide and taking action on it.
Yeah, definitely drop them into the chat. I don't have any questions, but I'm kind of getting my takeaway. I took a screenshot of those three statements, like I can't repeat them, but like took a screenshot of those three statements to work on those, and then also downloading the guide to like literally have those questions available for our clients to answer. I think that's so useful and helpful to download. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. And it's funny because like people will answer them in a way that, you know, like what made me stand out? What made you decide to work with me? And a lot of times it's going to be like, really? That's that's the thing? Okay. Yeah, oh, sure. Whatever you say. Like you're the client, you're the one that spent money. That
Yeah.
clearly was enough for you. Like in my mind, that doesn't make sense because I'm in my mind. Like I know how I work. I know I don't know any other way of doing things. And when people are like, "Oh, I just really like your ability to, like break down complex topics and teach on them." I'm like, I literally don't know any other way to do it. Like that's
It's exactly right. And
That's
what you
exactly
think
right.
is the
Yeah,
value you're delivering is like not the same as what someone might perceive as the most valuable thing that they're receiving.
right.
So like that, those questions, sorry, Ruth, those questions like really hash that out. Like, what is the perception, not what is like my perception.
yeah. And when I do ask my clients as we're working together, I don't hand them a workbook. We have one email at a time. We discuss one thing at a time. I keep the stress off, and that really helps them. And like I said, I don't do very many, the big formals, I do them, but that's not me. Heidi, I look like you right now. My hair's on top of my head. I'm wearing a
Yeah, it's
sweatshirt.
like I can't be anybody else. If you have a problem
This,
with me teaching
right.
you and coaching you in like
Yeah.
my super chill, like
Yeah,
that's just not for you.
absolutely. And I just can't emphasize enough that, like you said, if you can write the language that invokes somebody's, like they tug, and I ask them right away, why did you choose me? Well, okay, so what you said is exactly what we're looking for. I do non-religious, but if there's an interfaith marriage or an inter multicultural, which was like my daughter's, there's family involved and they want certain things. So I don't do it, but I incorporate the family in. Bring them on up. Let's do it. Let's do this. Let's do that. I have lawyers that work with people from other countries, and some of them have really religious things. And I'm like, great, you can do this. Bilinguals. I bring up a sister. Come on, let's do this together. And it makes it more fun, very memorable for everybody. And I just, if people, all I have to tell you is whatever Heidi does, go do it. Follow her, join her, do her groups, whatever. Um, I Do Society is really nice. It's a different view of these wedding groups that are out there. It's a different style. So
Yeah.
I like that too. And I just tell everybody to join as much as you can, stay with what you like, and you will continue to grow and prosper, which is, the end result of what we won't want.
Thank
Yeah.
you so much for your kind words, Ruth. That is so sweet of you. You are the best.
Well, I always email you and tell you how much I like everything.
I love those emails and they go in a folder.
Keep it coming, Ruth.
Thanks, Mark.
Lisa had a question here. As a bridal shop owner, I find my ideal clients love working with me. However, sometimes they simply love a dress elsewhere better, even if they strongly preferred my customer service and experience. Does that mean they weren't my ideal client to begin with, or what are your thoughts?
Great question, because it's it's about the product,
Yeah.
and that's a
And
tough.
it could be if you're seeing patterns, it could inform your product. If you're seeing that, people are opting to go elsewhere because of a certain line or a certain style, that could be an opportunity for you because it sounds like it's like it was everything but just that like singular product. So I would think about, can you, and maybe you can reach out to these people. Can you identify patterns in maybe the lines they decided to go with, maybe the styles they decided to go with, and maybe they're things you can incorporate more in the business? But I would be curious to know, um, how prevalent is this? Because, it changes between an opportunity and like a crisis situation. If it's like everybody that feels like the ideal client is doing this, then it's like more of a, we need
I,
to change
I want
this
to jump
now.
in too with I'm going to stay in my lane of advertising.
Yeah.
There could be an issue there of like maybe we need to lead in just the advertising world and other marketing elements. Like maybe we need to like lean into the product more. to make sure that couples who do book their appointment, if they've seen an ad campaign or seen your marketing somewhere, that there isn't a surprise of like the dresses. And I know that's like not black and white. It's not like, and a bride may not even know until she gets to that appointment, she's tried on what she thinks she like. But anyway, like maybe there's an opportunity there to lean more into the style and the dresses that you do have in the advertising to make sure that there's less of that happening.
Yeah. Yeah. It's either way. I think no matter how you look at it, it's an alignment issue. And it's, do you need to better align with the marketing, with the advertising, with your website, with the prep in like if they're making an appointment, what to expect. Or maybe it's an alignment of you want to bring in some of these products that you feel like are taking business elsewhere. Because I think it's one of those things that it presents an opportunity. I think it's one of those things that's like, it's a frustration because it's like, oh, they loved our service. They loved everything about us. But, it's like, if I just love this certain bakery, but they just don't have the flavor that I want, that's like a fairly small adjustment. Like you've done 90% of the work. So if you can, I would see if you can do a little bit of recon on what are they choosing that you don't have, and can that present an opportunity for you? Or are you more on the side of qualifying people more for what you do have? I mean, you could do first one then the other, you could do both. I don't think there's a right or wrong way to do that.
It's a really great question, Elisa. Thanks for asking. Because
Yeah.
a lot of what we talked about is service-based, but being bridal, it is product-based. And that a real, like, you've invested a lot of money in your gowns, and I get that. Yeah. I think we're just at about an hour now. So if there aren't any last questions, I really appreciate your time, Heidi, and your insight and what you've brought to this. And I hope everyone watching the replay contacts you, and everyone who's here now contacts you, because you're a really, really powerful person. Even in my conversations with Heidi, like sometimes I'm like, hey, Heidi, let's talk about this for a live learning event. And Heidi like brings me back to reality. She's like, what's your actual goal? And I'm like, oh, that actually isn't it. And I always appreciate your objective guidance. So thank you.
Thank you so much. And Christina says, and hearing what you're saying, I don't think our site actually indicates what we do. This will help fix this. It's so funny. Like we're so in it, we can't see. And then it's like, someone else looks at our website and it's like, I don't know what you do. I don't know who you do it for. So sometimes that external feedback, and that's so much of what this is in talking to your best clients, is getting out of your head because you can only see so much, and getting perspective from the people who matter most, which are the people who have chosen to work with you instead of working with someone else. So I hope this is helpful for you. If you have any questions after this, feel free to email me, send me a DM on Instagram. Both of those are on the screen. More than happy to help you with anything I can. And if you do decide, and I really hope you do, to go through this process to use the Clone Your Best Clients Guide, email me and let me know how it goes. I'm genuinely curious. I love hearing about the process because there's always these ahas that come up. And it's so interesting for me to get to hear about those.
Thank you, Heidi. You rock.
Thank you so much. And I will get this recording to you guys very soon so you can refer back to it. Thank you for being here. And we'll see you next month for another live learning event.
All
Bye
right,
for now.
bye.